Hey Divine Ones, it's Jerome Braggs, the well-being Sherpa that helps you heal yourself and experience true and delicious well-being through the practice of self-love. I am back. I was on retreats. I went to a retreat that I go to, that I've been going to for the past 4 years. Every year around this time in July, and I can see myself actually going to this retreat probably for the next 20 years. But it's a retreat that happens in different retreat centers across the country with an organization called Adoti. And this particular retreat is where I both attend the retreat and I also teach at the retreat. So I offered some workshops at this retreat and I also attended the retreat. And I'm both being of service and I'm getting served. And every time I go to this retreat, I come back feeling deeply nourished. I come back feeling deeply loved, accepted, appreciated, seen, held. And I also always come back with some type of deep insights. And this particular situation is no different. I got some really great and profound insights around loving ourselves, around healing, and around my own personal journey, some that I hadn't really paid attention to or seen before. And so I want to share some of that with you. I want to start doing a new video series, and this is going to be the first video in that series. And this video series is going to focus on shame, particularly what shame is, how it affects us negatively, how it affects our life and our health, and what the process is to go around and heal that and bring ourselves back to the love of ourselves. So I wanted to share that because one of the things I taught on this retreat was I taught about shame. And as I was teaching about this retreat, I began to learn something as I began to teach at this retreat about shame, I learned something deeper about shame and learned something deeper about myself and where I was still holding shame in my being. And I've shared a lot about shame here on my page and in past videos, realizing how it contributed to the health situations that I was facing and some of them that I'm still facing. But I had a deeper awareness of where it was still kind of in my energy field and in my consciousness, how it was showing up in my life and what I needed to heal, as well as some of the things that I've learned with helping other people with their shame and healing their shame. So I want to share this. So what I'm going to do over the next few weeks and several days, we're going to be doing several videos talking about shame, how it shows up in our lives, the behaviors we adopt when we hold a shame-filled consciousness, how it affects the health of our bodies, etc. But today I want to talk to you not so much about shame, but I want to talk to you about love. And this is because one of the things that I felt when I go on this retreat, the thing I feel the most is belonging. And if you've watched my videos a while, you know I've talked about that when you cross over into the other side. So when I had my near-death experience, one of the things that many people that have near-death experiences wish they come back out of their experience to say is they felt this immense love. They describe it as unconditional love, and they say it's beyond description. It's really beyond our human understanding or what we have words for. And a lot of people that have had near-death experiences have found it really hard to kind of describe and to find the human words to accurately express what that actually feels like. I'm no different, actually. If you've heard me talk a lot about it, one second, you guys. I see my my little microphone here wasn't on correctly. One thing you've heard me talk about is how love is a multifaceted vibration. It's much more than what we've really described it as. Most of us, when we think about love, what we usually think about is affection. And we usually use the word love incorrectly. Like we'll say we love French fries, we'll say we love a movie, we'll say we love an article of clothing, and love is so much bigger than that. And what I've learned about it is that, one, it's a multifaceted vibration. So it's not just one thing. It's not appreciation or acceptance. It's not just appreciation or acceptance. It's several things. But when I came back from a retreat, I watched a video. I came across this video from a woman who had a near-death experience in Iraq. And when she was recalling her experience, and she was recalling her experience of the unconditional love on the other side, she described it in a way that really landed in my body as the absolute perfect way to describe it. And so from here on out, this is kind of what my definition of what love actually is. And I want to share this with you when we're talking about shame, because shame is what disconnects us from this love. And what she described love is the feeling of it's the belonging. Belonging. Not necessarily approval, but belonging. And this is exactly what I feel when I go to this retreat. This is why I love going to this retreat, because I feel such a deep sense of belonging. And what belonging actually is not just that you're together, or that you're having an experience, sharing an experience together. Belonging is more than that. Belonging is also a multifaceted experience. Belonging is the feeling of acceptance. Like when you think about spaces where you belong, you feel fully accepted. You also feel appreciated and valued in that space. If you don't feel accepted or appreciated in a space, you really don't feel like you belong in that space. That's not a space where you have a feeling of belonging. But where you feel like you have a sense of belonging, you feel acceptance, you feel appreciation, you feel valued. You also feel free. You feel fully free to express yourself. You don't feel like a part of you is limited. You don't feel like a part of you needs to be suppressed or hidden in any way. You feel fully free in those spaces. You also have a sense of joy in those spaces where you feel a belonging. It's like all of you is welcomed. All of you, no matter what. And this is the same thing I feel in this retreat space. All of me is welcomed. My gender is welcomed. My color is welcome. My sexuality is welcome. My health status is welcome. My economic status is welcome. No matter what, whether my health status is fully healthy, or whether I'm experiencing an illness or disease, whether my economic status is, financially abundant, or whether I'm lacking somehow, whether I'm, in the body shape that I want, in the ideal body shape, or whether I'm not. All of my being is fully accepted, is appreciated, is valued, is welcomed. I feel free to express all sides of myself, right? I don't have to suppress any aspect. I can express my sexuality, I can express my silliness, I can express my spirituality, I can express my intuitive gifts. All of me is welcome. Every aspect of me is welcomed, is seen, is valued, is accepted, is free to be, and I experience immense joy there, and I feel safe. All of that is the feeling of belonging. All of that is belonging, and that is what love actually is. It's all of that. And that's what belonging actually is. So love is belonging. And so when we're talking about loving ourselves, one of the key aspects of that practice then is loving ourselves is the practice of belonging to ourselves. It's the practice of really feeling deep acceptance, really valuing and appreciating ourselves, really being free to be ourselves and express our full selves unconditionally, really feeling safe with ourselves and to be ourselves, and really feeling a sense of joy. Right? That is the practice of loving ourselves, is doing those things that help us belong to ourselves. And the thing that keeps us from belonging to ourselves the most, the thing that keeps us from feeling a sense of belonging, not just with ourselves but with other people, is shame. And shame is really is fear, and it's the fear that there is something wrong with me, that I'm not enough. And that this thing that is wrong with me, it could be something's wrong with my body, right? It could be the color of my body, it could be the shape of my body, it could be the gender of my body, the health status of my body, but somehow it could be something with my body that I feel is not enough or is wrong. It could be something with my identity, right? It could be my ethnicity, it could be my sexuality, it could be my personality. Right? That's another aspect where we can feel like we're not enough, or like something is wrong with us. And then another aspect we feel it is in our intellect, right? So there's something wrong with, maybe my education or my smarts or my wisdom, but we feel like something is wrong. Shame says there is something wrong with me as I am, and I'm not enough. And what I'm not enough for is I'm not enough to be loved. I'm not enough to belong. Right? I'm not enough to belong to others. I'm going to be rejected or criticized. I'm going to be ostracized or abandoned as I am. And so when we hold that in our consciousness, when we believe there is something wrong with us, when we believe that that we're not enough some type of way, that gives rise to all types of dysfunctions, addictions, illnesses, and disconnections. And it disconnects us from our truth, which is we are enough. We are worthy beings, because each one of us is an extension of love itself. Love being source. You can call it God. Since my near-death experience, I don't really use God as much, because we have such a limited perspective of what God is. And what I have really learned is that source is really all that is. It's bigger than anything we've ever experienced. And what it really is just the essence of love. It is love itself. We are extensions of that. We are manifestations of that. So there is nothing wrong with us. But when we're made to believe, whether we're made to believe through socialization, whether we were made to believe by our environments, or something happened in our families, or maybe we received some type of trauma, when we begin to believe there's something wrong with us, we begin to hold shame. We hold shame in our belief systems, and we hold it in our energy fields, in our vibration. And that shame disconnects us from the truth of our being and from the natural frequency of our soul, and all types of problems. Actually, matter of fact, what my healing journey has really shown me is it's really the core root of almost every problem we have is some type of shame that we're holding. And that shame keeps us from belonging, from the experience of belonging, from the knowing of it in our consciousness and in our body, in our cells, in our energy field. And again, belonging is who we really are. That's the truth of our being. We belong. There's nothing about us that doesn't belong. But shame says that. And so I want to do this video series to really talk about the different things that happen when we hold shame, and that happen in our lives, like the different kind of behaviors we adapt, the different kind of coping mechanisms and defense mechanisms we adapt when we hold shame. Also, how shame affects our health. For if you've been following me for a while, when I was diagnosed with kidney failure and HIV, I realized that one of the core roots, that's the main core root of why those things manifested in my body, was I had been holding shame for a long time. I have some new awarenesses to share with you around that. So stay tuned. But I just wanted to tune in really quickly today just to share with you that love actually translates mostly to what we would call belonging. And the thing that disconnects us from love, the thing that disconnects us from belonging, not just the belonging of ourselves, but belonging of others as well, is shame. And the way to heal that shame is to love ourselves. And I'll be doing a whole video series about all of that. So stay tuned. Thank you for being here. And if you all are experiencing any type of shame in your life, however it's showing up, if you believe there's something wrong with you or you're not enough in any type of way, stay tuned. You may receive some type of healing from this video series. My intention is that I will receive a healing, because all I'm really doing here in my work is helping you heal as I heal myself. Healing myself as vulnerably and as honestly and as transparently as I can, so that you can see what it looks like, and so that maybe you can learn from my own journey. So until next time, as always, I love you all. Thank you for joining. See you next time.